Welcome to Dungeon Master 22. It is a scary place to be in this realm of evil, so now I am descending upon Movie Sign. For what has been Edgeworth is now worth sifting through. The time of humanity's rise into the clouds of victory behind the castle walls of evil to the castle walls of good, to the man's humanity on being good to each other and all those things that we can find in between. And that there's no one to tell us where we should go, or what we should do, or how we can see the light, and then shadow and echo and of it all. That these titles are so haunting in the movies made in this severely countercultural pattern that F.W. Murnau could have been the one to have made Nosferatu had not Nosferatu made it himself. And that we've got a copyright issue here because we're paying for the rights somehow. YouTube Masterclass must have picked up the bill on this because this is a very sacred film. So we skipped ahead a bit in Dungeon Master 22 and we went right to another title. It's like all we do is read titles for a while and then it becomes this big scene. And that there's a train set building into a real train in different frames of the shot of the same shot is masked with the buildings in the background and the people walking through them as though you can see them but not. And that we remain on the shot for a lingering time is not as diagonal as it seems. But here comes a racing train and we must pan and scan like usual. This could be a rebuff of this version considering we have Masterclass. And Masterclass will show us a version of Sunrise like we've never seen before, and we will level up. That 19 gave us no level ups, and there's no level ups in sight. Well, I can see one in sight this time, and it's growing, and it's beaming, and it's delighting upon the afterlife of glow, of principles of being in one boat in one shot. I can't come now, but I'll be there in a fortnight. And then we look at the ships, and they're all bowing to the scales of the justice. And they're going around in shifty patterns, and they're all looming with their parasols. And nothing seems more indentured than a house on a hill that no one can reach, and no one but anyone is playing in the pleasure garden. And that we're skimming over the shot so slowly that it doesn't even seem like the same movie anymore. It seems like we keep switching movies for some reason. Oh, the woman of the city. How I seek the enchantress and how I believe in only her. How the enchantress fires me like a candle in the wind. It's beautiful. And I just want to tell you that this cheers me up because here's a lady that's getting her hair ready and she's going for the Claudia Colbert look that everybody wants and how Louise Brooks look that everybody wants and that they do again in Pulp Fiction and My Life to Live is so insidious. And it made me wonder, what if we watch the woman of the city get ready and everything about watching her get ready enchants us and beautifies us for meanings? While we sit and eat hot soup and tell our sons of dream magic and everything. And then we get warmed up and then in the shade we realize that we've got something weird going on with the house. Pan and scan. Dungeon Master, you're leaning that camera one way makes the shots look different. Look, if you tilt the shot this way, you won't get it this way. But if you look at it here, you can get an even better shot of the whole frame. And that we're going about a ton of resolution here is just off the charts. And that we hold it like this and make the transfer. And this is like some kind of film preservation that's going on. It's some kind of film look that we need, that we want, that we take part in, that we excavate the flower or and we get into the Belarus moment of it all. And I think this will be Dungeon Master 22, for no one objects to seeing such things in the background and knowing they could be so brilliant and masterminded only by F.W. Murnau and how he rules, and how it would be a branded shame if F.W. Murnau were to see this now and realize that we've got a great transfer with a glare and everything. Well, that's because it's more of a transfer bootleg to show off some of the exiles of cinema, a few things that could be done while wanting bread in a laboratory. But that we seem to seal down to a unit 8.5 is perhaps the perplexing measure of Dungeon Master 22, because it must become an endurance test. So we must go and fly further into the atom, that he's now with his lady that's from the city is scandalous, and that he hasn't shaved in a week is to show you how much you can go far in a chapter search. But this looks interesting. She's getting back into the gaze in his eyes, and they lock lips, and they enjoy each other for all it's worth. But what it's worth to me is a simple standard of being tied into confusion and being simply put forth by your own effort to see what you can, to be what you can, to dream what you can. And then that would show me in the rites of the sacred city that there's two of us that need you, babe. Okay, well, I'm thinking that we're getting a little dramatic here, because now the evil girl's starting to look like a vampire, and that's just way too Bat City for me. I mean, what is this, Batman? Is that Catwoman? Come on now, skip ahead. That is amazing. What kind of tent exists in a real place like that? And isn't this supposed to be in New York? Where Murnau was in New York? How soiled is that? I think that's just dreadful. And look at his abandonment into the frame of this ostracized moment where he shakes his... and that someone's coming through the door. They're coming through the door. They're coming through the door right now. But she's framed by the door. And that means that this sinister outlook is looking at her like he's going to trade her in for the other guy. I mean, the other lady. He wants the other lady because, well, he can have her, but he can't have her. It's such a presage of newborn convincing crime. And for now, we'll have to flip over to part 2 of this very episode. But no, wait. Insert tape B. Tape B is saying it should stay around for another round of 22. Dungeon Master, let's go. Well, the enchantress babysitter is handing the baby back to her mother. Oh, we're on a ship. That's water. It looks like we're underwater now. And why am I not holding the camera here where you can see all the churches in the background? And that this silent film has church bells in it is already disturbing me, because if they can record church bells at this time, then how could they not? Well, use it on the record and not dialogue. It makes no sense that there's even a dialogue track on this now. This Balmeal, gorish old fiend going to... Oh, look at this. It's flying by like a freaking river. She's like flying on water. And this is not good, because the water makes us look like we're in it too. And that we're trapped on all sides. And that there's nowhere to go. Is this the talented Mr. Ripley or what? And then, of course, there's an Nosferatu in the garden, and he's running for his life, and this doesn't make any cunning sense, because we wouldn't ever say anything wrong about it. And that this has got him some kind of specific fever is already worrying me, because it could go through like a cosmonaut to another branch and then switch out. But if it switches out right now, then I'm asking YouTube Masterclass to just please give us another 10 minutes, because we're going in, and this doesn't even mean we've been there. So now we're in a shop and we're in a horrible place, and it looks like we're all alone and still together and still in love. See, we're all alone together and still in love, and that makes it worth it. That makes it worth it beyond the point of effulgence. And excuse me. And if we get even further into the incorpuscence of the situation, then we can see that tenderly he is taking care of the one that he has betrayed, and he feels like he wishes he had not betrayed her, and now is an even more miserable man than being talked into trading her for the city girl who has gone back to her wiles and thinks that she can make him jealous just by appearing out of the frame so slightly. That FW now uses psychological techniques on these men is not to, quote, be the first of the wrong way, to use the catch. The catch is good. The catch is golden. We must now convince ourselves to go on. The struggle is real. The things we see are invincible. The tidal wave of these photographs flipping together are so magical that they take us to a whole branded place beyond the city into reality, and that is first most needed for all the quarreling in life is to go to the city and take it where everybody's quarreling. And that we have just enough time to get right to where we needed to go is really what's stabling me about this suspenseful ending. And that it's really starting to push through and seem like the clock is ticking on when we can drop this mantelpiece. So, if you're there all alone, we're holding on for the real Dungeon Master viewers that can get through this entire thing. And now we're at a funeral, and we don't care how much longer they all were, because time seems elongated in this dream-like expressionism of America, where John Ford discovered how to direct movies mainly from this one. And when he saw this one and The Great Train Robbery and The Birth of a Nation, he loved all those films. And that Sunrise especially was the first before Citizen Kane to be given carte blanche by the studios. And now we have the world's longest funeral scene for the funeral. But it's not for cinema's funeral, because this will only bring it back and make us all care again about the life and lovelihood of Americana that sinks into our very veins and causes us to do everything we do as a human, and that this might have been made partially in Germany is already getting me a little confused. But here we go. If you can hang in, this is an interesting scene, because they almost got caught by the rucket of cars moving. And they're moving! Oh, this is brilliant. They're walking through a crowded streetway where everyone's going hep corner around the street, and he's got her back. He's walking through. They're happy again. The city, if you walk around and get lost in it enough and get scolded after enough, the next day the sun will rise and you will see great things, and that will be how we shelve the original heroics of a spy game of an international sort coming to America and telling us that we have great cinema. And if only we could make the great cinema of America, we'll be in the flip. But the real trip is even flippier than the trip. And I'm being leaderboarded by someone who is telling me that Dungeon Master still has a fright to carry on. So we see the film of the film of the film of the film, and now we are entertained by the very last few drooping minutes of Dungeon Master in Sunrise. And that again, that you can have a gong playing in the background and seal a gong, makes me wonder how they got the soundtrack to avoid dialogue. But that this is the original soundtrack that was made for the film doesn't question what I'm looking at right now. Could have been inspired by Metropolis or UFA itself, or like an expressionistic future sci-fi port of 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I'm never allowed to use that title, but always allowed to compare this scene to, because this is Manau predicting a Kubrick shot. Yes, we are in Dungeon Master mode. We must go all the way through the tunnel to get to the level up. Here it comes. I can feel it. I can feel it. Dungeon Master, hang in there.
Level up. Level 50 reached. Level 25 on Cleric reached. Keep Dungeon Master going for a little while longer, and you can see it here in supreme vision of my camera, which has been given upgrades ever since Pokemon. And the Pokemon upgrades won't even get it to the Master Class upgrades. And every time I even mention it, wow, this film just looks better and better.
But that it's Dungeon Master and we're in the middle of a playground bothers me. And I feel that I owe you one, so I'll hang in there with the Dungeon Master. Because it looks so foreboding, this next hallway we go through, called the carnival sequence. And we've all written carnival footage trying to be Manau without knowing it. And his are much better, except for Chaplin's The Circus, around which this precludes in every bolding way. Now that we've arrived at the moment we've all been waiting for, there is endless carny footage that I shouldn't... Oh, see, they're listing what the song is, Midsummer, and if they play it, then they're kind of doing a Chaplin thing in City Lights, which is way after this, and that this is Sunrise of the 28. City Lights was 29, and I'm saying there were a million years between 28 and 29 in terms of silent film, and it's auteurs like Manau. There is dialogue in this and clapping. I'm so scared by the first sound film being this, because Jazz Singer came out the year before, and that they would have had to have been wired for sound for this is getting me really scared. And that they're going home from the city is where we will preclude, because we need not see the signs, the warnings of another fortune's gaze, and we will not disaster upon the will of the textile being the ultimate instrument that defines us. And that we're going back to the farmlands of pure America after the city life revived on mere murderous marriage is not the same as being together forever on this bus ride, just enjoying the bus ride as much as driving anywhere. But alas, we have come to the great sea, and the great sea has given us none but will to search for the next Dungeon Master, and to lonely consider what life had been if he had departed to his wife and then never found the city girl, instead of finding his wife in the farm and back at the city and the farm again, where she followed him and he loves her for it. And he shouldn't have really gotten so mad at her after all, because she is his wife. But I know how it can be, because Dungeon Master was married a few episodes ago and it wasn't good for the Enchantress. So really that their marriage breaks up the next day is what I don't want to tell you about this, because she may actually fall off the boat. But I'm giving too much away. Go buy a copy of Sunrise and pay them back for this.